Welcome all to the weekly briefing. As you can see, I am not Tim. Filling in, he's away this week, so per usual, that means a couple of things. Substitute teacher energy, lots of fun and games, all fun stuff. Plenty of profanity, probably from my end. It's welcome from yours. That's the way we do it. But it also means a couple of things content-wise. One, I can talk about whatever I want. There's nothing Tim can do about it. So that means sales topics. That's fun. Two, it means y'all can obviously shout out, interrupt. We can have a conversation. We can take this in whatever direction that you all want to go. But of course, I want to talk. I want to talk sales, and I want to get into it, especially because it's the beginning of the year, and I want to talk about what it means to have a goal and what it means to do something about that goal, so it feels like an action plan and not just a wish, not just a thing you did, because that's the thing everyone says you are supposed to do at the beginning of the year, and kind of get into it. So if you've been sort of joining me on the weekly briefing for a while, or like Phil, if you've been joining my groups, you have probably heard such rhetoric as sales goals are stupid, or stop talking about it and just do the thing. Um, I have taken the initiative this week to maybe break some of that down. I don't not believe those things, but I think it's incumbent on us as an industry and me as a consultant to talk about what that means in practice. And so I thought I'd take a minute and kind of break down some of the things I do with my consulting clients and a little bit of the process on how we take those goals, again, like from a wish to an action plan, and really what it means to be working against a proper leading indicator toward hitting your sales goals, and not just looking back at the end of every month, every quarter, at the end of the year and saying, hey, did I do the thing or did I not do the thing? And what even happened? I think we can get a little bit more intentional. And I think we can do that with honestly one simple metric, but there are a few metrics that fall out of that. So I figured we could kind of dive in and talk about it. Some of it's going to be content y'all might have covered with Tim, but I take a little bit of a different lens on the same stuff that Tim often works with. So Phil, if you join every week, which you may or may not, sorry for repeating, but I think you'll find it interesting. Um, First, why sales goals are dumb. Let's talk about it. Here's the thing: like, one, you did it, cool. The first reason they're dumb is like, all right, well, like, what does that invite for you as a business owner, other than having checked a box or said you did a thing, or like, if you are so inclined, presenting that to your team, right? This year we're going to be a $10 million studio. Sick. Right. What does this invite in terms of action on your behalf on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? I'm not sure the answer to that unless it's just creating energy, which isn't inherently a bad thing. So reason that it's dumb, number one, it doesn't invite action on something. Number two, it's a lagging indicator. I find that sales is a practice of doing a thing every single day until you get a result. And looking at a lagging indicator is not an excellent way of measuring whether you've done the thing and whether that thing has been successful. My issue with sales as a sales metric, if you will, is that the revenue you booked really has no more bearing on your ability to hit the goal you set for yourself than your height or your hair color or whatever else you want to look at. It's essentially arbitrary relative to sort of your ability to make progress tomorrow because it's a thing that happened to you yesterday. This number does not tell you where the next job is going to come from, and it does not tell you how likely you are to win that next job. So that in itself um, makes this metric a little bit of a problematic number. So I think what we want to do um, when we're taking this metric is figure out what to do with it, because it's not going to go away, right? We're not going to like magically unset our goal or pretend it doesn't really matter. No amount of me saying sales goals are stupid um, is going to make us stop setting them or going to make the rhetoric around growth any different than it already is. So, what I want us to do is take that number that we all have in our heads, or I don't know, on a piece of paper tacked up somewhere, or on a whiteboard in our studio if we're so inclined, and break that down into a reliable indicator that actually works week over week or works honestly day over day. So, stop me if you've heard this one before, but we're going to talk about the bingo card. Ooh, move this thing. All right. So, tried and true, Tim Thompson special. Um, like most things Tim has invented, deceptively simple, but exceptionally effective. So, I took a $1 million sales goal just because it's easy to talk about. Have any of you, or do you with a regular basis, or on a regular basis, pardon me, use the bingo card to break down your sales goals? Phil, do you use it every year?
Yes, I do.
Do you like it well, actually, let me pause. What are the reasons it works for you? Do you like the monthly, quarterly, annually thing?
Well, I like the idea of it, but it doesn't actually work for me. I'm not gonna get a 100K project if I tell myself I'm gonna do it. Uh, but
Is
I'm
the
gonna get a 100K project like in a way I didn't expect. I use it mostly for the other tabs where I see like the past year, like how much I make and like how big were the projects and all that.
Wait, hold on, sorry. Your audio went out a little bit. Can you say that last part again?
There's a tab that shows you like a breakdown of the amount of projects you got last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so you use it in that way, like
Yeah.
almost as a little bit of a look back.
Yeah.
So I that is all valuable. I want to talk about the ways we can use it as a proactive tool and the way that we can use that to get to our leading indicator. So I am interested in the idea that there are a couple layers of intention that we can apply to this tool to get us to a number. You want to ride with me through this? We're going to go like 5 layers deep.
Let's do it.
Okay, hold on. Ollie join. Let me let him in. So when I look at the ways we sort of tag our bingo card. Thanks for joining, Ollie. That 10K through 100K for a $1 million studio is not at all random. I want us to ask ourselves for our studio, what is the smallest project we are actually willing to take? And by willing to take, I don't just mean from a top line revenue perspective. I mean, what is the literal lowest amount of money you can ingest into your business and make the profit margin that you set out to make on a given project? That's actually the thing you should be setting, like when you set your intentions for the year out, right? So let's say hypothetically it's 10 for $1 million studio. Again, I'm just making the math easy, but you actually have to know that if you don't have clarity on that when you're doing your sales goal setting, that's evidence of a different set of questions you have to ask yourself and a different set of problems you have to solve. Otherwise, we're just kind of getting on this hamster wheel of sort of like filling the top of the funnel, right? I'm obsessed with the idea of filling this out based on what is the smallest project I could possibly take and still make the margin I want to make. And then on the other end of that, what is the largest project I can feasibly take on at my current size? And by feasibly, I mean without losing your shit, right? Like without sort of like working nights and weekends, hiring a person you can't currently hire, or like sacrificing the quality of your creative work. 10% is an interesting rule of thumb here, right? I'm not saying it can't be bigger, but if you look last year and one project was more than 10% of your total revenue on the entire year, you should actually probably set your sales goal differently for this year, right? It actually means that you're capable of something different than you've set yourself this year. So, okay, what's the smallest project I can feasibly make money on? And what's the biggest project I can feasibly deliver while maintaining my creative standards? And then we're going to work at everything in between based on the averages you know. the types of clients you get, et cetera, et cetera. I think sometimes we skip over that part when we look at the bingo card. And so I wanted us to take a minute and just talk about it. It's easy to just be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, 100 sounds cool, 250 sounds cool, whatever. But to your point, Phil, like, what does that even mean? So let's say we've done that, right? Let's say we've been hyper intentional about the smallest project we can handle, the biggest project we can handle, and then how many it takes. It is pretty interesting um, to see just how many it takes on a monthly, weekly, quarterly basis to get to that number. Um, Bear with me because all of Tim's things look nice and all of my things look gross. But I built this particular breakdown. I don't even want to go here. That's its own whole different thing. But I built this particular breakdown to help us go from a lagging indicator to a leading indicator, um, so that we can solve the problem in front of us. Let's talk definitions for a second. Um, Everybody uses these words. I put definitions on them so we're all speaking the same language. When I'm talking about a lead, I'm talking about a conversation that you documented in your CRM, like an adult business owner who does the thing they're supposed to do. I don't care if that's virtual in person. I don't care if you texted them. But it is about the possibility of doing business together in any capacity, right? It doesn't have to be particularly formal. Um, that can be in the pub or in the coffee shop. They can come to your office, whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you talk to another human being who you might do business with feasibly. When I say capes meeting, all I mean is you met to discuss fit or capes. It doesn't have to be associated with a project. And when I'm talking about a deal, I mean they shared a budget with you, they asked you for a bid, or you have a meeting on the books where you're pitching concepts, treatments, whatever it is. And that meeting must be associated with a project that is real and is actually happening. Um, we know this all too well where it sounds like the project is real and we've sort of done all this work and like, oh, that thing is not even happening. Or we get to the point where there's like, we get a budget conversation. And they're like, oh, we haven't even talked about budget internally. We're like, oh, there's $10,000 for this project and you put $100,000 treatment in place. Like, we know that whole thing. Um, Part of naming that is doing the due diligence of making sure that all of that is clear before we even get there. Um, you know, these are kind of sales due diligence 101 things, but I want to name them as long as we're talking. So let's say for the purpose of generalization, that your smallest projects are the easiest to win and your biggest projects are the hardest to win. On average, for my various businesses, let's call it a 1 in 3 win rate on your small projects and a 1 in 5 win rate on your biggest projects. If you're keeping track of your win rates as lagging indicators, you want to plug your own data in here, love it. If you are not, or if those win rates are muddy because of one reason or another, the averages are going to do just fine. This is not the end of the world. All of this is for the purpose of getting to a number that gives you some marching orders and a thing to work against. None of this is like so hard and fast that you need to swear by it. But if we think about 2 projects a month for your smallest project, that's 24 a year. If we're winning 1 in 3, we better be pitching 72 of these a year, right? When I talk about leads or conversations with another human being in order to create potential opportunity, you don't really know whether it's a big project or a small project when you're talking to that person, right? It's not like you're sort of like having coffee with somebody talking about their creative needs or their marketing needs. And they're like, oh, by the way, I have a big project, right? It doesn't like super work that way. It wouldn't make a ton of sense for you to extrapolate out whether you have a big project lead or a small project lead. But the way I've done this is the same math. For every small project, you need 3 leads for a deal. For every big project, you need 5 leads for a deal, or 5 conversations for a lead, pardon me. Again, it's really all for the purpose of just kind of like getting ourselves a number. Let's go back for the minute. Ooh, let's go back for the minute um, to our 210s and 215s in a month. I don't think we even have to start the conversation of where our biggest projects come from right now to get to a place where we can get to our leading indicator. Let's just focus on what it takes month over month to win the projects we need to win. So if we've got 4 projects we've got to close at our smallest level, let's go down to our scratch sheet, right? Okay, 4 projects, and we got to pitch, I don't know, 3 times to get one of them, just in the hypothetical. Right off the bat, y'all, in any given month, we're talking about 36 conversations. We're talking about meeting with 36 human beings every single month in order to win four projects, our 4 smallest projects. So what we've just done is take our big shiny goal of making $1 million in a year, broken it down to a month, broken it down to project types based on the smallest number that we could possibly make money on, and then applied some basic math of averages to get to a place where like we've got a number. I think that's immeasurably important because now we've got a conversation we can track weekly, conversation we can track daily. And that's honestly where I'm going with the whole leading and lagging indicators thing is now we're talking about sales conversations per day. For $1 million studio, we had a 36 conversation a month thing. And we can break that down. I'm going to in a second. But we are having a conversation about you, the owner of your business, talking to 36 human beings in a month. How does that strike y'all? Logical. How's it feel?
Oh, we need to find them. Let's go talk to people.
That's very true. I want to talk about how to get there too, because talking to 36 human beings a month doesn't mean 36 cold call or 36 the result of 36 cold calls. That sounds like the worst business ever. I wouldn't work in that business, right? If I had to take 36 cold calls, it sounds fucking miserable, actually. There are a million ways we can get there, but I wanted to talk about that hard math because that is a daily metric we can track. And that's something that indicates progress toward actually closing a deal, unlike saying, well, okay, we did 250 this quarter and our goal was 1 million. So I guess that's progress, right? That has no bearing on whether you're going to do 250 in the next quarter. Um, your sales conversations, on the other hand, are actually the top of your funnel. Okay, so we did this math, right? 36 conversations a month, 8 conversations a week. If we assume we're only working on business days, which you can decide if you are or you aren't, I'm not interested in a value judgment on that. It's 1.8 a day. So realistically, you're having 2 sales conversations a day. Can we talk about that for a second? When I think about my past agencies, um, those where sales was my responsibility, and those where I had true leadership responsibilities. I don't know that I was like, I don't know that I was doing 2 sales conversations a day. I think if you had put that number in front of me, I would have said it's my job to make sure that the work is the best it could possibly be, and that as a result of that, um, new business will take care of itself. I mean, if you'd asked me this question 5 years ago, that's what I would have said.
Are you still thinking the same or?
But what I'll tell you now is that work often begets work, right? If you're good at a thing, someone wants you to do it again, or they want to tell you about, or they want to tell other people about you. Sales is the job of earning every single project. That's the practice. What I would say now is that every single job I have is something that I have earned and I've made the practice of earning it. So my question about these conversations is, or my question about your practice is, Are you going out there and earning every job you have? Jan, I think your question is interesting. How meaningful do they have to be? My response to that is relative to your expectation of what a sales conversation is, a person has a job and you pitch for it and close it, not very meaningful in my personal opinion. It's about finding fit, right? Um, Most of the time, wanting to work with a person or a firm is enough to get you most of the way there. Your capabilities will at some point speak for themselves in a positive way or a negative way, and you can't unhave them, right? You can't unhave the reel you have. At some point, your reel is either going to win you the job or somebody else's reel is going to win them the job. Your job is to be the firm they want to work with. And so, in that way, I would contend that those conversations are about fit finding and about being the right type of partner for whoever that is. I don't know if that puts the pressure on or takes it off, but for me, it makes it feel like it takes the pressure off. So I wanted to pause. If we've got a leading indicator in mind, what does a sales practice feel like relative to your current practice? How does it feel? How does your, let me ask this differently. How different does your sales practice feel if it focuses on a conversation a day or two conversations a day versus whatever it feels like now? I love the note on focusing on number of proposals. To me, a proposal is an awesome metric. Um, but again, let's assume you win, I don't know, one and two, one and three, one and five. Like, what's dictating that? Your
I really,
ability to be the right firm,
I
right?
do like this idea of I've never thought about it in a way of having sales conversations each day. Yeah, historically, I've always focused on number of leads or proposals or things like that. It's really interesting to think about it in terms of intentionally having one or two opportunities a day. To your point, whether sending out a Cape stack or meeting someone new or going to an event, it feels freeing. I like it.
And also, it focuses the owner on the thing they do best, which is be an advocate for their business. And also, now that I hear that your voice, your voice, and I know it's you. Good to see you, buddy.
It is great to see. It's been a long time.
It is. I find we do a lot of hand wringing, right? I got to win the proposal. Well, like, unless they haven't, they fucking pre-decided who their vendor of choice is, and maybe that's a factor that has to do with the creative that we've put forth. Maybe it's a factor that has to do with the budget. It's probably a factor that has to do with whether they like that person or not. We can be the person they like. So I'm obsessed with the idea of refocusing this metric on conversations. And also, it puts the practice of earning every job in our control very, very squarely. I can have a conversation every day, but I do have to do the work of earning it. And I don't have to sweat the work of whether my proposal um, looks as good as somebody else's proposal or not. Whether I've designed the slides right, or whether my bid was as clear, I got it down to 3 lines instead of 24 in a spreadsheet or whatever the thing is. I have had that conversation. I've got one other thing that I wanted to bring up before into it. Although I did want to put that leading indicator out into the world, and I want to. What's up, Phil? You're on mute.
How do you, thanks, by the way, uh, do you distinguish like a new conversation to a low-hanging fruit?
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
How do you distinguish like a low-hanging fruit compared to a new conversation?
Can you say more about low-hanging fruit?
Like past client.
Oh, good. That's exactly where I was going to go next. What a transition. Uh,
Okay, love it.
I do actually want to break down what I'd consider to be a false construct, and I think there are a couple. It was actually the way I wanted to end this. But the biggest false construct for me is new versus existing clients as revenue sources when we're in a project-based industry. Honestly, who gives a shit, right? You have to earn every job. Is an existing client more likely to bring you work than someone you don't already know, or like someone you haven't already worked with? Like, obviously, yes, right? Um, but I would say that sales is the practice of earning every job. And I think a more useful construct is human beings you know versus human beings you don't know. And so if you frame it that way, it's not that all conversations are made equal, but there are really two tiers. There are people you know and there are people you don't, and you can qualify them very, very simply that way. This is a human being I've never met in my life before, and this is a human being with whom or for whom I have some context. So when I talk about people we already know, that's obviously an existing client. That's a past client. That's a client we worked with, but they moved to another job, right? That is a former coworker who went in house. That is somebody who lives down the street, or like the parent of a kid who plays with your kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like the list of those things goes on and on and on, but they are people you already know. I think Tim will tell you that in his experience, 90+% of any given firm's revenue comes from human beings you already know. And I would largely echo that, RFPs notwithstanding. Although honestly, probably a large percentage of RFPs come from people who want you in their lives. And so if we look at it that way, all humans you already know, all conversations with humans you already know are created equal. They're warm enough to warrant something, right? Whether they're bringing you a job or whether you have the opportunity to ask for the next thing, that's where we're going with that. And so, what's interesting about measuring your last year? Sure, we should measure our revenue. Sure, we should measure our close rate. You can measure your work based on new versus existing if you want. Like, I don't, just because I think it's a false construct doesn't mean like you're not going to learn something from it. But I would encourage you to look at your 2025 and say, what percentage of my jobs came from a human being that I do? And I would include referrals in that, right? Client A referred me to this person. That's a job that came from a person I know versus what percentage of my jobs came from a human being I do not know. So let's qualify that. Cold outreach, obviously. Inbound, right? Whether that's your website or wherever else you have work up. God, I miss SEO, but like that was a thing. GEO is maybe a thing. I don't, somebody can tell me about that. I don't know. Cool, fine. Maybe your socials. Maybe you spoke somewhere. You met someone at a conference. Maybe you've got a Substack or you're publishing thought leadership somewhere. I don't not believe you, Olive. I'm being a little flip. But you know what I mean? Like there are ways in which a human being you don't know can come to you, and there are ways that you can go out and reach a human being you don't know. You tell me what the percentage is. Um, but you got to look at your conversations that way. And so my push, honestly, is like if you're a warm revenue dominant firm, the idea that you would become a cold revenue dominant firm at the scale that kind of we're all talking about strikes me as maybe a misuse of time. It would be wild for you to set up absolutely um, an absolutely crazy cold email blitz if 100% of your jobs last year came from people you already know. The question would be how can you move one step further and one ring out from the people you already know and set your expectations for growth that way. If you actually crush revenue from people you already know, your social content works, you're good at networking at events, you've got some other sort of revenue stream that works for you, I would push the same way. Sure, there are opportunities for you to probably refer and network, but if you're cold revenue dominant, the question is like, where are there more strangers worth talking to? Where are there adjacent strangers to the strangers who already want to buy your shit? Um, and you should focus where you're already successful or adjacent to where you're already successful. And so to loop all the way back around, if we break down the construct of new versus existing, or we break down the construct of sort of like, I don't know, low hanging fruit versus top of the funnel, or, however we want to call it, the answer is just like, well, is this a human being you know, or is it a human being you don't know? And with whom are you most successful? So Phil, since you brought it up, and I know that you love it so much, can I put you on the spot? With whom are you more successful?
Um, I'm good at leveraging an introduction.
I'd call that a person you already know, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a like very warm lead turning into a hotter one.
Cool. Then the question for me is there a second tier of introductions you can get, either from the same people who typically refer you, or do you have people who have not referred you yet but probably could?
Yeah, it comes down to asking for referrals.
Yeah. And that to me, like, right, you're a warm revenue dominant firm, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
And so when you go back to your bingo card, you go back to your breakdown, if you've got to have, whatever it is, let's call it your 4 jobs a month for your hypothetical $1 million firm. I made that up, obviously, but like, if we go back to that and you got to have your 2 conversations a day, um, then asking the people you already have conversations with, if you can have other conversations with people they already know, seems like the teeniest, tiniest baby step from where you are to the place you want to be, as opposed to whatever the other alternatives are,
I like it.
as a hypothetical. I put you on the spot too, Ali.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah. Well, the question for me is, with whom are you the most successful? People you already know or people you don't really know?
Yeah, definitely people I already know. Like we get most of our jobs from, even yesterday, someone reached out to us because when I was a freelancer working in New York and stuff like that, and they were like, you know, so and so gave me your number or so and so said you were good. And then, ends up working out that way. We're very lucky that, over the last 2 years, a lot of our workers come from people that, it was like a spider web. Someone I worked with personally and did a good job. And then they knew somebody or someone, even actually the person I met yesterday on a call, they were meant to be getting work, met this person at the gym. She doesn't work directly. She just met her on the treadmill next door. She said she was a designer and she was like, "Do you know anyone in motion?" She gave her name and then it just spiderweb from that.
It's, first of all, it's kind of incredible, isn't it? The way these things work. But what I've found, to the point about having conversations every day, and honestly, to loop back to Deanna's point about like how meaningful do they have to be, is that just like just starting the thing will lead to a place in a nonlinear fashion. You're not really accountable for like some arbitrary linear process where like by which you meet a person and then you have to qualify them as a prospect and turn them into a thing. It's like, well, we do motion. And so who might need it? And then you can just ask the question. So I'm interested in the idea that your conversations as a hypothetical, Ali, could be as simple as like with people you already like who are also designers. Hey, who do you know that I don't know yet?
Hmm.
Would be the one question that unlocks all of your conversations to meet your sort of like leading indicator. Who do you know that I don't know yet? Might literally do it.
Yeah. No, I definitely like I had a really good one last year where like one of our clients is a gaming client has like a gaming club or something like that, and I just asked, can I come? You know, asked my client, I was like, can I come to one of your events? Went there. It was literally like the same type of company we were working for, but just many more. And I just got names or chatted to him, gave him my number, had more coffees and stuff, and then just ended up getting us more work.
Yeah, it is. It's very rarely as complicated as we want to make it.
Mm.
I was listening to a podcast today. I always listen to the Knowledge Project. It's my favorite podcast. Roll your eyes, Phil. You've heard me talk about it 900 times. Um, but James Clear was on it this week, and a host asked him about like secrets versus first principles, and he noted something that was like one of the best articles that The Athletic did in 2025 was about Michael Phelps' breathing techniques, and motherfuckers go crazy wanting to know the thing that the secret, right? The thing that they don't already know. And so this idea that Michael Phelps breathes in a way that you don't breathe must be the unlock that's going to make you a better swimmer. And it's like the sort of first principle basic is that Michael Phelps got in the pool every single day for 16 years and never missed a day. And also he's built the way he's built, but like that dude just did the thing every day nonstop. And obviously he developed some type of breathing technique that probably worked. And that's not to say it didn't matter. But really when it came down to it, like the biggest probably point of separation was a first principles dedication to doing the thing. And so to ladder all the way back to my point, which is like sales goals are stupid, shut up and do the thing. If we were committed to our 1 to 2 conversations with the human being every day, I think we would be shocked at how little the breathing technique matters and how much the getting in the pool just takes care of the work for us. I promised Tim I'd make it 45 minutes. I got pretty close though. All right, y'all. I appreciate you as always. Anything else on anyone's mind, or as we get to sales goals, or kind of to reiterate, leading indicators, or the ways that we can kind of break our goals down to a daily that we want to talk about?
Well, I just want to say it's encouraging, and I like the positivity. Just like reach out to 2 people a day to make 1 million a year.
It is the more I do this process of breaking down, the more I find that the small steps are really, really very small, and it's just about the doing of the thing. So if I can leave you all with one thing, just go out there tomorrow and do the thing. See how it feels.
It's great.
Amazing. I appreciate all of you. Look out for the RevThink programming you know and love. The confab groups starting back up toward the end of this month. And we're going to do some recurring monthly programming. I'm going to change it up, talk about some sales basics on a monthly basis. So keep your eyes peeled, ears to the ground for that. And we're going to have some fun with it.
What book should we read this quarter? Just so we can.
I got a laundry list and Tim is making me narrow down. So if you bear with me for another week, I will I'll share what I'm thinking. But if you want my whole list, Phil, I'll tell you.
I'll take it. It's just that like I don't read as fast as the rest of the group. So if I can take some start before the group, I'll be happy.
All right, I'll let you know. Let me offline it when we've narrowed. But I got you.
Love it. Okay,
Cool.
thanks.
Thanks, friends. Have a great rest of the week. I'll see y'all later.
Thanks, guys.